podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Post-Match Raw. I nearly forgot the name of the show there, but that's because there's no Irish people here today. So I am joined by Jim and Harry. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great. It is strange without the Navan lads here, isn't it? But I'm sure we'll get on with it.
Even the weather just fancied no Irish people on this show today. Enjoyed it. As I said, Harry's joining us as well. How are you doing, Harry?
I'm doing well. My mum's family from Kilkenny, actually. So
you can't.
I usually keep that low profile on the show with the other lads. I'm sure you can understand why. I'm an honorary Irish participant on the call, and it was a lovely job in terms of 6 wins out of 6, pretty calm stuff, and on we roll.
And now
I'm also as Irish as John Aldridge, but
that's true.
Jack Charlton doesn't do that now though, so I wouldn't get in the team. Obviously,
you might get called up if it ever goes by.
Yeah.
There's Viking blood in my veins somewhere, so I could probably get a job for Norway. But anyway, we just beat Girona in what was an interesting but kind of pointless game in the end. It's a bit of a weird one, considering I think we are now actually through, but we were basically through anyway, Harry. We might as well, because the teams aren't too interesting. Have you enjoyed the new format, or is it's a bit weird from a Liverpool perspective because, well, we've just took the piss, but like, for instance, I've got the Real Madrid game on in the background and Real Madrid is struggling, obviously, and Atalanta are doing well. So I think the new format's worked, but we've kind of just took the piss out of it a bit.
Yeah, I think I had issues with the motivations behind the new format because, like anything, it usually comes from greed in some direction, right? But in terms of what it's actually provided us with, I think, especially how the first run of it has gone, we've got to be enjoying this, right? Really fun to say top of all the leagues because it's just something that really winds up certain fan bases, and that's been fun to enjoy this season so far. More, I would say more exciting games, but maybe it's just like by matter of the fact that there's some big sides here who traditionally mow through opposition, who've had some struggles in this format and look to be at risk of the thing that they usually just take for granted, which is that sort of pretty comfortable qualification, even if they muck around in a game or two. So if it makes them have to work a little bit harder for what usually comes quite easy, then I think I'll say that I'm enjoying the new format so far, and there have been more, some interesting matchups so far that you don't always get early on in the group stages. So so far so good, and I think definitely biased a guy in terms of the way in which it's gone for Liverpool, and 6 wins out of 6, and I'll get the exact stats up, but I'm sure we've conceded barely anything in those games, and it's just wonderful to see how much we seem to love that new format.
We do. I mean, Jim, what is this something we can, like, I haven't looked at betting odds and all that jazz, but favourites is weird because it's obviously still the group stage, and as we mentioned before we started recording, there's more group stage games into the new year, which is new and not exciting. But are we now favourites for the Champions League, or is it just one of those things where the group stage is just a big false reading and we won't really know until we play proper teams consistently?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say in that sense, isn't it? Because we've played, it feels so random, the draw. I mean, I'm not sure how the seeding works. We've had tough teams, though. That's the thing. I mean, I know Real Madrid aren't having the best season, but they're still not sort of an awful team to play. I mean, we played better against them than we did against Forest, for example. I think you can only beat what's in front of you, and the thing is, Liverpool have beaten everything in front of them in this competition. It does make you feel like favourites, but of course, new year, transfer window, some clubs will go and spend money, probably not us, strengthen themselves, and then it all gets down to a bit more of a lottery, doesn't it? But I think the best thing for us in a lot of ways is probably not the best thing from the point of view of the people counting the beans and all the rest of it. But we're not going to, unless we've done our maths wrong, it looks like we're not going to play in that next knockout stage, that first knockout stage. So we've got these games after Christmas that we can almost put the under 21 kids out in if we want to. And that's, that in itself is good news for us, because in January, that's when you're recovering from the madness of Christmas, and then the FA Cup starts kicking in, and you might have extra games in that, and it all just gets a bit heavy going, doesn't it? Instead, we've got 2 games we can stick our feet up for. Basically, we can just, if we've got players coming back to fitness, we can try them out in that, and then a bit of a rest before we're actually in the knockout stages ourselves. So, in a way, that helps us as well. I'm just a bit wary of saying favourites because, we're starting to feel a bit like that in the league the other week, and then we went and drew against Newcastle. We've got to. We are favourites, I would say, yes, but I think at the same time, we've not won anything. You get nothing being top of the league at this stage of the season, other than, as it is for us, hopefully a good passageway through to the knockouts.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Last, we'll probably see, for instance, Real Madrid, their probably best bet is game. They'll have to go through the playoffs. I think Arsenal are quite close to that. Man City's form's awful. They might drop into it. So it does add on those extra games. And as you say, injuries and stuff does pile on in the new year, when there's, especially for the English teams where games are thick and fast. So yeah, avoiding that was mission one when we entered this competition. And we've done it as soon as possible, which is bloody great. Let's get into the game then. And Harry, I'll come to you. I mean, if you want to talk about the Girona side, other than the fact all of them are Premier League rejects, which is fantastic, a mix of Spurs and Man United rejects, basically. The Liverpool side, Allison's back. That's probably the main thing to take away from it. Trent's back starting, which mostly expected because Kwanzaa's not a right back, weirdly. Midfield picked itself because McAllister was suspended, and we went with Diaz and Nunez joining Salah, which I'd guess, especially after the performance, which we will come on to, it was a good opportunity for Nunez to maybe put his last hand up for a starting shout, but he may have wasted that. But yeah, what did you make of the starting 11, Harry?
Yeah, not too many surprises, I think, given the options that we had available. I mean, it was fun to see the photos of Jota and Chiesa attending training, but I think with one being unwell at the moment and then the other being wrapped in a blanket until he's fully ready to come back, understandably so. I think this team sort of made sense. I did see some people quibble at why we were going so strong, but given that we had that rest with the game, the Merseyside derby being called off at the weekend, and given the opportunity here to win this, secure qualification, and then maybe, as Jim was saying, those next 2 games, that is when I would hope to see kids or as rotated as we can go. I want to see Wataru Endo playing 93 minutes in a game. Right? I think these things need to happen, given just how ridiculous the schedule is and how few opportunities we're probably going to get to give these players a rest. So just like McAllister's finding himself somewhere in Switzerland at the moment on some sort of winter holiday because he's got both games off at the moment. I'm not suggesting other players need to go to Switzerland, but it'd be good for them to actually have a chance for a break. So Ali coming back in, that's one player who doesn't need a break. You wanted to see him back involved and up to speed as soon as possible, and we'll come on to talk about how he looked, just like that and looked like he'd never left, which was really, really nice to see. And yeah, Robbo, Van Dijk, Gomez getting another chance to play at centre back, but this time with an actual, sort of designated right back next to him as well. So not looking as vulnerable as he did against Newcastle. And Grav, who's had a little bit of a rest, coming in for Jones and Szoboszlai, I thought it made sense, to be honest. I mean, yes, there are some options on the bench. Maybe you could have argued, do you start the likes of Elliott? Do you give them an opportunity? given the opposition here. But I think it makes sense. Go with the first team, the strongest team you can possibly go with, win the game, and then think about how you can rotate in those final 2 games. So I think you would have liked to have put another option instead of Nunez. I don't think it was necessarily Slot giving him a chance to go and prove the doubters wrong today. I think it was there were no other options really. Yes, we could have played maybe Diaz through the middle, but
you'd expect that on the weekend, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's what that's what I'd expect on the weekend. But I suppose I imagine we're not going to see Jota starting, right? So I'd expect to see Gakpo on the left, Diaz through the middle, and Jota hopefully getting a nice little cameo in there as well. So yeah, I mean, Mo Salah's never going to miss a game when he gets an opportunity. He usually likes to add to his record. So yeah, pretty unremarkable. And in terms of the Girona lineup, I mean, as you said, lots of Premier League sort of, I don't say has-beens, but players who've been in the Premier League and ultimately not been successful or had sort of spells there. As you said, ex-Man United with Blind, Van de Beek, ex-Everton as well, Romeo from Southampton, Gill from Tottenham, who's looks a very tidy player, but just his lack of physicality makes it really
not built for the big leagues.
Makes it clear. I mean, I'm sure he's great at 5-a-side. Danjuma, was it Bournemouth? Where Danjuma and
Bournemouth, Everton,
Villarreal?
I think it was.
Okay, maybe I'm getting confused. But
he was at Villarreal as well. But he went on loan like 3 times in a row in the Premier League.
Yeah, and Gazaniga, who actually I always liked. So I'm sort of glad that he's having a nice little career in Spain. And Asprilla, the big signing for them, who was pretty lively all evening, as I'm sure we'll come on to talk about. But yeah, but nothing in that side that makes you look at it and think, okay, this is going to cause us lots of problems here tonight. I think as the commentators mentioned, right, loads of their best players were lost in the summer. Different teams plucking the players that they wanted, including the parent club, Manchester City as well, of course. So I think it was set up to be, again, we could dominate. But I thought it proved a bit more challenging than that.
Yeah, absolutely it did. And I mean, maybe the first 15 minutes is the perfect example of that, Jim. I mean, we start off quite well. Gomez nearly scores off a corner. It's just never going to happen at this stage. We have Grav doing a lovely turn in the middle of the park and sends Darwin for on goal. It's just kind of I think it's straight out the keeper, if I remember correctly. Well, then all of a sudden, after a good 10 minutes, Girona just kind of catches on the break, and that doesn't really stop for most of the first half. But I mean, huge chance for Girona on the 11th minute, where Blind air swings it and it falls. I can't remember who it falls to, but Allison saves the follow-up shot. And then at 13 minutes, Ali saves from Brian Hill. It probably was offside. That's the one where Robbo kind of slips and Ali just saves it. But it does. The first 15 minutes is a bit of a basketball game, Jim, and that doesn't really slow down until very much the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, one of the sort of hallmarks of Slot this season has been about how we, we're sort of measured in our approach to things. We don't sort of go all gung-ho, and we just try and sort of take control of games, and we generally do that. And I'm thinking maybe I've missed it, maybe I've dreamt that, maybe that isn't really how we played this season, because there was a bit of that against Newcastle and more of it today, that we were just, I don't know, we were just letting them. I think the problem is when we were going forward, we were getting close-ish, but we weren't really testing the keeper too much. They weren't always great chances that we were creating. Time and again, we'd have a great move and let ourselves down at the last minute, maybe one too many passes. And to be fair to them, they were defending well. But then, we just kind of left ourselves open over and over again. And my God, if there was ever a game for Ali to come back to, this was the one. I mean, if he was hoping to come back and have a quiet game, just get feel his way back in again, there was none of that. I mean, he was used so well. And, he came to our rescue over and over again. I mean, it was despite this end-to-end stuff, though, I don't know, it had the feel of a game that would be good for the neutral, maybe, but it wasn't good for the fan of either team, is how I was looking at it. It just felt like, I don't know, it was worrying enough that maybe we could concede here. But as I said, Ali kept saving us. It was, and it was frustrating as well from the Liverpool side, because, I mean, maybe we'll come on to Darwin at some point as well on this, but it wasn't just him. I mean, Gomez was probably the one who came closest to scoring. It was a great header and a great save. But yeah, we just didn't seem to I don't know, when we had possession, we weren't using it well. I think I saw a stat at some point in the second half, and it was something like 63% to us, something along those lines to us. Massive amount of possession. Yeah, we weren't doing great with it. But at this stage, I'm not sure what the possession stats were at this stage, though, because it just felt like it was literally, there probably weren't any throw-ins. The throw-in stats were probably 0. It was just one end to the other over and over and over again. There was no calming down. And I think the feel of this game as well was it felt a bit like one of those early round FA Cup games against the team from lower down the leagues. It's a strange ground because a lot of it was empty, wasn't it? You could see from the aerial shots. I'm not sure if that's some sort of Champions League regulation or whether the rebuilding. I've not done any research on that. Sorry to any Girona fans, but it just felt like that a little bit of a sort of a huge event for them, massive occasion for them, and we were just kind of turning up. And it felt even less like an FA Cup match because it just felt like I don't know a second leg of a League Cup match when you're already 6-0 up from the first leg or something. It was strange. They were so up for it, yet we were like, why are we here?
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, I think you made a good point before we started recording. Obviously, they get to play Real Madrid and Barcelona every year. They've been in the La Liga, but obviously they will have had some massive games last year in terms of qualifying for the Champions League, especially those early season ones where they look like title challengers playing Real Madrid and Barcelona. But ultimately, this is probably one of, if not their biggest game in their history, and you could kind of feel that, like, you mentioned, I'm guessing some of the stadium was closed off, especially that upper echelon bit. But the atmosphere was great. Their players looked very much up for it. By the sounds of the commentators, it seemed like Michel, or however you pronounce the manager's name, changed it up a bit and went a bit more counter-attacking, which it definitely worked for them. Because if they wanted to do possession v possession, I think we probably would have slaughtered them a little bit.
Yeah.
And you could tell it was a big game for them, whereas maybe the looseness, especially of our midfield in the first half, again, you kind of said pre-season, probably not that strong, but yeah, it felt obviously much more important to them than us, I presume.
Yeah, and I think that's Sean, and I don't know, I wonder if we'd have had the same lineup had we played the derby at the weekend. If we'd had a full-on derby, especially in the weather that was around Liverpool at the time. You could imagine that would have been a bruising encounter. And looking at the subs bench, there isn't actually, apart from the 3 that came on, there weren't loads of choices to change things into. But I think, this might have been a night for the kids. But obviously, didn't play the weekend. It's better, I would say, to get players playing tonight than not. Just keep let them keep the hand in, so to speak. And I don't know. I think almost as if we did send them out to say, look, this is almost like this is a game. Let's just keep things ticking over till the next game because we don't need to go putting ourselves on the line at this one. But again, that sort of translated into this sort of sort of lax approach that it felt like we were having. The fact that Ali's getting called on so many times is worrying in some ways. But then again, this is a team that it's not an awful team. They've got a lot of promising players, and but I think at the same time, maybe something that helped us tonight was I mean, one player's name that I've heard loads is Dan Juma, because he played for Everton, and I've never, and considering what sort of track record he's got against, as with Everton fans, there's very few players I've heard frustrate Everton's fans as much as him. His name, every time I heard that mentioned when he was playing for them, it was always about how good he looked and then how bad he was at the end with his final product. And maybe that's
Could see that.
Maybe that's sure. I mean, I thought I see what you mean now, because he never stopped talking about that. Anytime I did any kind of show or anything with Everton, talking to Everton fans, they were so frustrated with him, and I can see why. And maybe that's again, as much as we were worried, maybe that's the thing. Maybe they've not got the players with that final product, and they didn't punish us, as well as, of course, the keeper helping us out when we needed him to.
Yeah, Harry, just to bring you in there, I mean, the basketball doesn't really stop, and I'll go through some of the chances here, but Miguel has a shot saved by Ali. Trent has a beautiful cross that forces a corner, a cross from the left that forces a corner from a diving header clearance. Girona have a break, it's a poor final pass, it doesn't go anywhere. I'll pause there because Darwin's next up, but yeah, Harry, it's good to have Allison back. Like, obviously, It's. I don't think any of those saves Kelleher couldn't have made. But I was talking on Daily Red this afternoon, because I was covering Dave. Allison just has this aura, and I think only a handful of our players have it. I'd say Mo has it, Van Dijk has it, Trent has it, and I think few in the past used to have it. But it's just this air of invincibility. Like, as I said, I think Kelleher would have saved all those comfortably. But just the fact that Allison was there and he's a big, beautiful, bearded bastard, it's just a really reassuring thing to have him back between the sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up really nicely. He's the comfort blanket, right? He's just there's something so reassuring about having him back there, and I don't disagree. I think technically, right? I mean, and from what we've seen from Kelleher, the majority of the time that he's been in for Allison, I think he's done an exceptional job so far this season, with the exception, of course, of that Newcastle game. But Allison just gives you that feeling of assurance that he's one of these keepers who at times not only saves it, but actually looks quite disappointed that he's not caught certain attempts when there's sort of difficult shots that he's dealing with. And I wasn't really into the shaven Allison either. I thought that sort of maybe diminished his powers a lot. Yeah, so good to see him come back as shaggy as he was looking. But there's just something so comforting, as you say. I mean, multiple things to deal with there early on. You can get inside a keeper's head, and Kelleher, for how as well as he's performed, you could easily have seen. Okay, he's got memories of. Okay, I've just been bombarded at Newcastle, and I'm now getting bombarded here again. And Ali, just so confident when claiming the ball, when saving it 9 times out of 10, he's palming it to the side as well, away from danger. Like just the size of him as well, there to claim the ball, to diffuse difficult situations. And I think as well, not that the players don't have any sort of lack of trust in Kelleher. I think he's earned that, and they know they can rely on him. But he's another one of these stalwarts, and another member of the spine that people can look to, the way they look to Mo, the way they look to Van Dijk, right? I think these are players that have been pivotal for us, have been there in the really, really big moments. And so, in difficult times like this, where I thought they were getting through our midfield far too easily, I saw untracked runners from midfield. We haven't really seen much of that this season, right? And let's face it, very unlucky not to score with that Daily Blind miscue. Completely untracked run. Jones really bad, Grav really bad. Dom just watching as well. Just so strange to see that from this Liverpool team this season. So, if they are going to have an off day in those moments, and I thought we'll talk about how professional they were in the second half, but when they do have those lax few moments in games, having him back, massive. And that's exactly the kind of game I imagine he needed to warm himself up for life back in the Premier League.
Yes, and I presume Fulham will be a bit more of a physical test as well. So
yes,
having Allison on crosses, I think, as I mentioned, Kelleher would probably make all those saves, but in terms of claiming crosses, like there's probably only Courtois on Allison's level in terms of stuff like that. So.
And the punches as well. Some really, really
punches,
strong punches in the right, just to diffuse any difficulty. So, yeah, I mean, never anything wrong with having the world's best goalkeeper back.
It's always a good sentence. Let's move on to basically the end of the half, and we'll talk about a couple other players. But I mean, my next note is Darwin, mate, and I'm sure you all know it's the header where, dearie me, it just looked like he's never seen a football before, which is harsh, but he did mess it up big style. Deflected cross falls to him, just a very silly header. Then a minute later, he misses a 1v1, which is a well-worked move down the right, if I remember correctly. Curtis Jones then messes up, I think it was like a 4v4. Basically, he just holds onto the ball too long, tries an impossible pass to Diaz, and it just doesn't really come off. And then Allison, I think, makes a really good save from Asprilla, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But Harry, to come at you, I mean, the Darwin conversation was always, especially after a performance like that, is always going to come into light. As you both mentioned, Jota is rumoured to be back either the weekend or certainly next midweek.
Yeah.
Chiesa will then become an option for the front three roles at the same time.
I just hope it.
I mean, I don't want to prey on anyone's downfall or anything like that, but with all these injuries, it did feel like this was an opportunity for Darwin to kind of secure his Liverpool future. And I just don't think he's taken it. Like, I can't remember the exact numbers. I think it might have been on UP last night. Or
three goals in 29 games.
It's like every 220 odd minutes, which is it's obviously worse now as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Mo's sat on a goal and an assist every 60 minutes. That's the level of player we need, is Mo Salah. And he's literally playing a different sport to Darwin Nunez at the minute.
Yeah, I wouldn't be cruel enough to say he has to be Mo Salah, because let's face it, there's very, very few people who are ever going to reach that level. Be great to find another one of them. Hopefully we do. But no, I think before the season, we spoke about what we needed from Nunez this season, and I love the guy in terms of the character, the energy, the desire. There's so much to admire about his game. It's the reason why he gets his name chanted the way in which he does, and he's had the backing of, I'd say, the vast majority of the Liverpool fan base for so long, especially at Anfield. And we knew, right? We knew, look at the centre forwards that Slot has worked with, the kind of things he likes them to do, what he had Jota doing earlier on in the season. So we knew the work rate, the defensive work, the bringing others into play, holding the ball up at times, combining, being calm in possession, calmer in possession. All these things that he wanted from that figure, and to facilitate for the wingers who tend to get more of the action under Slot. And we've seen that strikers in general do have a little bit of a dip in terms of sort of their high quality chances so far under Slot. However, I've been a big supporter of Darwin's. I'll obviously continue to support him throughout the entire season. Hope he catches fire. But I think the energy is leaving me, just like it's leaving, as it was leaving Jurgen in the last season, in terms of those 1v1 chances, like the one we saw towards the end of the first half. Good move, engineered space, 1v1, and technically, does he do everything right? Hits it hard, away to the keeper, and the keeper's leg is what prevents it from going in. But the Liverpool number 9, and I know it's not his fault, but the Liverpool record signing needs to be finishing those opportunities. They don't need to be doing what Mo Salah does, but when the bread and butter chances come to them, they need to be taking them. Unless there's somebody like a Bobby Firmino facilitator, which Nunez is not, he needs to be finishing those chances. The work rate is not enough. And it's not good enough to put this much pressure on Diaz, Gakpo, and let's be honest, it's Mo Salah who is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. He likes the heavy lifting. You can see that from his physique, but it's still it's not sustainable. We needed it to improve. We need it to improve this season. There will be moments where even Mo can't produce something, and Darwin taking a chance like he could have done against Newcastle, where he lashed at that finish in front of goal, and like a few moments here today where just slotting it, being that kind of striker, we sort of need him to be that guy. And if he can't be that guy, that's fine. You can go and have a good career I'm sure plenty of clubs around Europe. But it's worrying to see just how low in confidence he looks like in that part of the game. Whilst acknowledging all the work that he's doing, I can see all that work that he's doing. I'm sure the manager's telling him about that too. But we do sort of know, when Jota's back to full fitness, he can do that work and he can do the other stuff. And the other stuff is what footballers get paid to do in the attacking third, right? So I feel for him. It's clearly low in confidence. I don't think he would be playing right now. I think we'd be picking and choosing his games if we had more options. So maybe some timeout could help him. But as you said, this run's been going on for a while now. I think we kind of know what this player is. I think he could do a lot more in maybe a different system for a different kind of club. I worry that he'll never be exactly what we need him to be. But as I said, full support until the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. As long as he's a Liverpool player, I hope, as you said, catches fire is probably the right word for him. And we have seen that at times. He's
capable.
Yeah, it's almost Marcus Rashford-y. He's very much a purple patch player, I think. I mean, Jim,
I think if you took his shirt number away and took his transfer fee out of the question,
yes. Yeah.
and sort of had him down as your kind of fourth or fifth choice forward, you'd feel there'd be less pressure on him. Because I think as Liverpool fans as well, you find yourself listening to fans of other clubs going on about him. That's the bit that sometimes is the tiring bit as well, isn't it? Sort of defending him over and over, because it's all very simple. He's a number 9, he's a centre forward, he should be banging the goals in. I don't know, there's no, always comes back to me with forwards. I can remember, and he's showing my age now, Paul Walsh being a Liverpool forward, wearing number 7 of all numbers when Kenny was manager. And the papers were having a field day because he hadn't scored for so many games. Yeah, I was seeing him, I was stood on the cup and I was seeing him contributing to games, and there weren't the sort of same level of stats and things then. You kind of look yourself and you could see an assist, you could look yourself and you could see his ball that put someone through to make the assist. His contribution in games was amazing, and he was just very unlucky in front of goal. And I'm not saying Darwin's the same. I think he's not, but I think I was thinking of the Man City game, that contribution from him in the defence and then getting back up the other end and having an effort. And, there is all that side to him. But again, I think having that price tag on him, having that number on his back, because it is an important number, obviously, it makes us all focus on the goal scoring. And I think as much as I agree, Slot would be saying to him, look at all the other good stuff you're doing. And if he's interviewed tonight after the game, Slot will say the same thing. Behind the scenes, it might not be quite the same, because let's face it, and this is probably going to be Darwin's biggest problem, is there are a lot of other people who can do all those things in front of goal and still do all that hard work. I think it's easier to teach a forward to do the hard work stuff, to do the coming back and helping out in defence when you need to and reading the game and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of the other stuff's instinctive, and you can't just teach a forward to suddenly be, amazing in front of goal. And that's my big worry with Darwin, is that I think from day one we've said this play's going to come good. This play's going to come good. Once he's got his confidence, once he's found his feet, once he's got a little bit older and he's learned from his mistakes. But I agree. There is an end time. That you can't do that forever. You can't keep defending him forever, and that it may be that we're on that road now with him, which is such a shame. But you can pick any striker. You can tell them how to work hard and do all that other stuff, all that defending, because that's not, it's not an art as such. A striker coming back and helping out in defence, it's a different kind of skill to, say, Virgil being a defender. So I think there's plenty of time. I've been saying for ages there's plenty of time, but I do think that time is running out. I think you're right, and if he doesn't get, and also the chances are running out as well, as you say, 2 players coming back, they could push him down the queue. And if we're firing well and doing well, he's not going to get games because Slot doesn't.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.